Hey, are you talking about back in the day?
Nah, man. I'm talking about back in the day.
Back in the day. Back in the day. Back in the day. Back in the day.
Joining us today on the Back in the Day podcast, we are live from Rollertown. We're not really live, but we're recording out at Rollertown Beerworks in Celina, Texas. There's a party inside, so we're out front. We've got the great Ben Rogers from the Ben and Skin Show. How you doing today, Ben?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm excited about this. You're one of my favorite funny humans on the planet.
Thank you.
So I'm very excited about this opportunity.
Well, sweet, man. Thanks for joining us. So I wanted to talk to you about, I didn't know if you wanted to do 45 minutes of salary cap or if you wanted to do anything like that. But what I really wanted to talk, because I know your story of how you got into radio. I know all of that, and you guys kind of touch on your rap career a little bit, but you don't go like real in depth on it. And I've been listening to your album kind of on repeat, not repeat, but a lot the last like 3 weeks, because I had never heard it before. So I wanted to like kind of listen to it, learn about it. Talk to me about like how you guys kind of got started in hip hop.
Okay. So back in the day, Skin and I, we met when we were 12 years old. So we've been friends since we were 12, and we're 27 now. So it's been a long time.
Good 15-year run.
Yeah, we're almost 50. So we've been friends for a long time. But back in the day, we had a lot of great misadventures together. And one of those was at high school parties. We, right around the time we were 16, 17, 18 years old, we started listening to hip hop, and we found out about freestyling.
Okay.
And we were like, what? Freestyling? And so we would go up on, we just did this thing where whenever we were at a house party, we would always end up on the roof. And we had a guy who could beatbox.
Okay.
And we didn't do it for any other, we weren't trying to be a band, or we were just idiots having fun. And we liked the challenge of spontaneous rap. Like, can you come up with something at the time that rhymes? And it was all stupid, as you can imagine. And we would be up on the roof freestyling at all these parties. Well, one thing led to another, and weed happened.
Yeah.
And then we found ourselves at college. I was at Texas Tech. He was at Texas. And neither of us were really satisfied with just being in college. We were kind of bored with it. And we wanted to do something creative. And we were at that young age where it's like, what do I need a college degree for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you ever go through that? Like, it's just a sheet of paper.
No, because my dad pounded me going to college into my head all the time. But the one thing, though, that I did that was dumb is my dad was all about, like, get an engineering degree, do something technical. But I got a theater degree, so I probably
Right.
should. So that's why I was getting my creative fix out of the degree.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's fun. That sounds actually fun to get
Yeah.
a degree like that. And so we each dropped out, and we decided to start making hip hop. And we, through a weird turn of events that was really fortuitous, we ended up befriending the biggest local underground hip hop crew.
Okay.
They were called International Grand Posse. They were also known as Mad Flava. And later they ended up signing with Priority Records, and they were a big deal. And for whatever reason, they were like amused by us. They were like, these guys are idiots. I kind of think these are kind of fun. And so they allowed us to open up for them every time they did a show. And any big rap act that came through Dallas, the International Grand Posse got to open up for.
Okay.
So then over time, we got to open up for. And we had a nice little run. We had some interest from some record labels. We shot a music video. We went a couple years without really having to work, which was kind of success in itself. Yeah. And, one thing led to another, and we just realized, man, this is probably not going to work. And how much more time do we want to invest in chasing this thing?
Yeah.
And so we eventually just kind of gave up on that and went back to college. I went back, got my degree at North Texas, and ended up going and getting in sales. And later on in 2000, Skin kept making music. He makes music for a sound library, producing stuff. He's produced over 250 instrumental albums in the past 12 years. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Like sometimes, I'll give you an example. Like he sells sound library music. So one time I was watching The Bachelor which is a lot of men. Stop looking at me like that.
Yeah.
A lot of cool guys watch The Bachelor.
That's like a football, The Bachelor, you know.
I mean, I kind of just rolled right into that admission. But I heard a beat in it, and I was like, oh, shit, I wrote a rap song to that. Like, I wrote lyrics to that. Why? They jacked my song, and I was like, oh, yeah. We never put that out.
Yeah. And
it was Skin's beat, and it just became part of his library later on.
What year were you guys doing when you were actually rapping? What years were those?
So, okay, so the funny thing about your podcast, you know, back in the day, is I'm terrible with memory and dates and things like that, so I'm going to fuck that up the whole
Well,
way.
okay. So is it like early 90s?
So,
you can give me,
yes.
Okay.
We graduated in 89. We were probably making music 91 through 96 or something like that.
Okay. So,
And-
this is going to be a dumb, this is going to feel like a dumb question because I'm sure you've been asked this a lot, but I'm going to, from a different angle. I'm not taking it from the fact that you're white rappers and it's early 90s. That's not why I'm going to ask you about Vanilla Ice. But I'm going to ask you about Vanilla Ice because you guys are both from the exact same area.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
did y'all know him? Did
Yes.
you ever run into him?
So his name was Robbie Van Winkle, and I think he was a year older than us, and he went to R.L. Turner.
Yeah.
And
He doesn't claim it, though. He'll be like, I'm from Miami. Yeah.
Streets of Miami. But he was dating a girl named Rennie Faulkner, I think that was her name, who went to our high school. And so he would show up to pick her up after school, and we'd hear this IROC Z in the parking lot going, thump, 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 thump. And we're like, what a douchebag. So we weren't like friends with him or anything, and we weren't actively trying to rap in high school. We were doing it for fun.
Yeah.
We were doing bits. But as we got to, when we did get into hip hop, we fell in love with, not that we weren't into it, when we started getting into making it, the rap groups that influenced us were East Coast rap groups. And so we fell in love with De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Black Sheep, those types of things, KRS-One, Gangstar, East Coast underground type rap. And so we weren't, is that train going to be crazy too? So that's one of the cool things that we have, like a Blues Brother brewery, you know, the whole thing will shake here in a second. What we say is that when a train comes by like it's come by now, everyone has to finish their beer.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So turn a negative to a positive. This is fine. I don't notice it at all.
It's great real estate. Like, you know, just like,
We got a great deal on the location.
come for a relaxing night.
But so when we gave up on that project, I don't know exactly the year. Maybe it was 96. We went back, got regular jobs, but we, you know, stayed friends. We'd been friends long before that. And the album you're talking about is the Coffee Nods, right?
Yeah.
So around 2005, I had this gap in my life where it took me 10 years to graduate from college. I graduated high school in 89, college in 99.
Nice.
And I'm not a doctor, as far as you know. And so I wanted something to show my kids. I'm like, I thought it would matter to them. It doesn't. They don't give a shit. But I wanted to say, hey, kids, here's that gap in my life is because I was trying to make it as a rapper. And even though I didn't really have anything finished from that era where Skin and I were trying to make music because we didn't quite get as far as we wanted to, I got out of college and I started making money and I could afford to like make a real project.
Yeah, produce it yourself.
So I
basically.
did. And I bought beats. And, dude, actually 3 or 4 of the beats on that are produced by a guy named S1, who ended up producing Power by Kanye West and went on to win Grammys and all sorts of stuff. And so I always say I had the hottest producer in the world and still didn't do shit. But I didn't really even push that. It was 2005, 2006, and I just made it. And I didn't even shop it. I didn't try to get a deal with it. I didn't do anything with it. It was really
Just for you?
Self-serving. And I did it with a guy named Jason Farantello. Super smart guy. He was the DJ on it. He did all the artwork for it. And so I wanted it to be representative of my time in the rap game trying to make it. But I never really went out and tried to turn it into anything. It was more just a representative of those efforts. And it was, I mean, I had it mastered. I had lawyers clear the samples. I mean, I did everything right, except I didn't really have a plan once I had it made. And I think I spent over a series of maybe 2.5 years, I think I spent $35,000, $40,000 on that project.
Wow. So did you have kids already then?
Fuck
or
no. If I had, and by the way, should I not be cussing?
No, you're fine. You can
Okay.
cuss. You're fine.
Is the FCC following this? So I did not have kids. So basically,
But were you were married though,
I was
right?
married.
Okay.
Yeah. And so my wife's very understanding. When I met my wife, I was an unemployed rapper and who played video games for a living all the time, for no living. And like the way I impressed her is I spit like this epic freestyle. I was so proud of it. I call it epic. But we had met her. She worked at the Lone Star Oyster Bar. I told her I had a co-ed softball team, which I didn't. I had no game. Still never have had any game. And her and her friend came over to our apartment, and I freestyled while my buddy changed the channels. And I was rapping about a Ginsu knife commercial. And then here's ESPN with highlights. And then, here's, the Rockford Files or whatever. And I freestyled, and I gave it everything I got because that's all I had. I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to impress her. And at the end of it, it was like 12 minutes long. My friends were like, oh, fuck, dude, what the fuck? And she goes, you wrote that. I was like, how would I have written that?
Why would I write about ESPN and knives? And
how would I time that? He changed the channel. Anyways, I was so angry that it inspired me to chase her for the rest of my life. So, but anyways, that project, ultimately that project means so much to me, but I just never really did anything with it.
Well, I think the project's really fun. Like, I liked going back and listening to it because I've listened to you on the radio since you guys were at the Fan. So 7-ish years, right? So I thought it was, and I'd heard you always talk about it, but I'd never listened to it. So I went back about 3 or 4 weeks ago and I started listening to it. And I think the fun thing about that project is like, there's fun songs on it, but then there's real songs on it too.
Right.
So what were some of the inspirations of the song like Crazy Train? Like, that's like a real song. Like, that's like about like a girl that gets into a domestic violence relationship, right? Like, so what was the inspiration behind that?
So the way that album worked, I'm beat centric. In other words, a lot of time there's probably artists who just write a song and then find a beat and marry it. For me, I wait to get inspired by the music. And if the music inspires me in a certain mood or vibe. And so that song was called Night Train, and it was produced by a guy named Rob Victim. And he sampled a lady singing, riding the night train, New York to LA, gonna go and get me some sunshine. And she was like talking about this long train ride, and she sounded really sad over the solemn beat that he made for it. And in my mind, it sounded like a woman who was trying to escape something. And so I wanted to have, if I could do it all over again, I could have. And I'm super curious about this. Like, I like making funny songs. Obviously, that's what I do on the radio. But there's certain bars or there's certain melodic keys that it's impossible to be funny over. Like, you can't write a funny song to that.
To that, no, not at all.
And so it hit me and it moved me in a way that inspired me to write something about domestic violence. And it's just storytelling, the art of storytelling. Like, it wasn't a story about anything I had been through, but domestic violence is a serious problem. And so I just did a bunch of research on domestic violence, put a lot of thought into it, and wrote the song about the cyclical nature of domestic violence, in that it was a woman who was in an abuse, had a weird relationship with her dad, got in an abusive relationship, had a kid, and that cycle was about to continue. And the only way she broke it was to save her daughter, get on a train, and escape this guy and go start a new life in a new state. Now, that same producer, Rob Vick, also produced another song on that album that I wrote it about, if you heard the third verse of it, about a buddy of mine. It was called Decisions.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that one too.
And it's all about how you see somebody's life unravel, and you don't know how it unraveled. Like, you see a homeless person, and you wonder, how did that happen? Like, well, there was something along the way, and you could probably go back to a moment and pinpoint a decision that they made that impacted their life. And we had a guy who used to be in our rap group named Rob Love, and Rob became homeless. And so it's kind of a song about that, about a cautionary tale about, man, put time, thought, and effort into every decision that you make, because any decision you make could change the impact of your life, like it did for our buddy Rob Love, who, at the time I was writing that, lived behind a dumpster over by Lover's Lane in Greenville, know. So
yeah, because ultimately life is just like one decision after another, right?
Yeah.
So take me back, even further back. Okay, so high school, you guys are at parties, standing on top of roofs, freestyling, where all the cool kids are at. Like, right? So what's cool about though, high school, me and my friends would freestyle too. College, we would freestyle. Like, that's kind of what you do at parties. We had this one freestyle battle that happened one time where I'm not going to tell like the details of it, but we're all having good times or whatever. But then all of a sudden it turned into like an 8 Mile thing where this guy did this like real bad diss, but like told a secret in it that all of us, that like only half of us knew and none of the rest of the school knew. And like everyone was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
like everyone just like dropped, and like the other guy was like, what the heck, man? Like, why are you telling my secrets? And I'm like, he came to play that day.
Right.
He came for keeps. So in high school, are you doing other stuff too? Are you doing sports? What sports did you play in high school?
So I was a career offensive lineman, and which sucks from a sports standpoint. Like I liked all sports, but in football, like even if you see an offensive lineman in the NFL, he probably was a skill position at some point.
Yeah.
Like Tyron Smith was probably the quarterback of his, or running back.
Lane Johnson, who is at who's the Eagles. I don't know if he's still at the Eagles or not, but he's a left tackle.
Yeah.
And he went to OU, and the year before, he was a high school quarterback, then tight end in junior college,
Right.
and then plays left tackle in the pros.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So me, the first time I played football was like 5th grade. They were like lineman, fat kid, lineman, and then every year after that, I was a lineman. And so I liked baseball, I liked basketball, but my best sport was probably football because I was just big and in the way.
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy it. There was nothing like when you go out in your front yard to play football.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, all right, I'm the lineman.
I'm getting in a 2-point stance. Right.
right? Nobody does that. And so I played sports, but I wasn't necessarily great at anything, and I didn't really love it because I was stuck being a lineman.
Okay. So the name of my podcast is Back in the Day, and I'm going to focus on different things from back in people's day, right? This season, I'm focusing on people's greatest athletic achievement. So tell me a story that is either your favorite athletic achievement or your greatest. It can be either one.
Okay. I know without question what this is. I've only had one.
Okay.
Good moment. And it was not even in organized sports.
Okay.
And the reason I can verify that this was an actual glorious moment for me personally is because Skin, who's seen like all my years since 12, was there for it, and he swears it's my best moment. So we were in our 20s and early 20s, and we had just gone and played football together, and it was a bunch of guys, probably 10 different guys, 15 guys or whatever, and we played football, and then we were going to go drink a bunch of beer. Mm-hmm. And on the way back, we went to buy beer or something, or went to get gas. Everybody pulled in this gas station over off Northwest Highway. And the ball we had just used was a brand new, like $40, $50 football, which is a big deal to us. And, when you're with your boys and now there's 12, 15 of you at a gas station, you probably act like assholes. And so we were all out of the car, goofing off, being stupid. Well, one of the cars pulled off, and there was 4 guys in it. And the car was going to turn left onto Northwest Highway right in front of Don Carter's Bowling. And that car pulled out from the gas station in traffic and took a left. Well, the guy in the back seat rolled down the window and said, "Throw it, you pussy." And I was holding the ball. And so I was holding this brand new ball, and I was like, I'm just standing by a gas pump. And I'm like, the car is going away from me, and the driver doesn't know that we're going to try to complete this pass. And so the car is moving at a high rate of speed, and it's about the furthest I can throw the ball. For the sake of this podcast, let's say it was 111 yards.
Okay. Very believable.
Yeah. No, it was a long way. And probably 40 yards or something like that, 50 yards. And so as the car turns, I say, fuck it, and I throw that ball. And my friends, as I threw it, you could kind of feel they're going, no, because it's a busy intersection.
Yeah,
like
you're not getting that ball back.
No one's going to get that ball back. It was a terrible decision, right? Well, the car keeps turning, and it's even speeding up to get into traffic and to continue to go straight, and that ball just goes and goes and goes and lands right in the window. The guy catches it, falls in the car, and my friends freaked out. And so it wasn't on a field of play or anything. It was at a gas station at an intersection.
There you go. The glory years in that gas station.
Yeah, right.
What was your reaction to it? Were you in disbelief? Did you?
I don't even remember. I don't know why I would do such a thing. I've made a lot of terrible decisions. I don't know how that one worked out, but I just remember feeling really good and fortunate because, like, sometimes you can see like a quarterback throws an interception and he's slow motion. He's like, no. Like, I think the second I threw it, I regretted it.
Yeah, because if that goes wrong, like you lose the ball, but you maybe cause a wreck. You maybe
maybe the guy falls out of the car.
A lot of bad things happen.
It wasn't my football either, so I mean, I would have had to buy somebody football, and
You're a rapper, $40 a lot,
$40-$50. That would have taken me a few months. I mean, that would have been a problem. So I was grateful that my buddy caught it.
We used to do a lot of dumb things like that too. When I was in college, we would go play home run derby at the Little League fields. And so we would go to the Little League fields that we had played at in Carrollton that we grew up on. So the fields are like 200 feet, 225, 250 maybe at tops, right?
Yeah.
And the field that we would choose to play home run derby on backed up to Kelly, which is a large street. It's Josie Ranch, if you know where that's at. Okay, so, but there was like 10 other fields that we could have easily played on. And we're just hitting bombs into this traffic constantly.
Into traffic?
Yeah, constantly. And there was
bad decision.
Yeah, and it's just like, why are we doing this? But
Right.
at 21, you're just like, this makes the most.
This makes the most sense.
Yeah, why would we? We don't want to chase it in the field. We'll just send John out there.
These stories concern me as a parent now. My kids are 14 and 12 and 9, and I'm headed towards my kids making those decisions.
Oh yeah, you're like 2 years away from all those decisions. You're like 2 years away from your kids freestyling on a roof and light farms. Just
And dude, when on the radio, I have to be so careful because my wife listens while she's carpooling the kids. I have to be really careful, not about what I say now because they know I'm an idiot. But I got to be careful divulging too much about the past.
Yeah, you don't want to give them ideas either, right? That's what I was telling something to my daughter the other day. I don't remember what it was. And I was like, that's not what you need to do. Like you did. And my wife was like, don't give her ideas. And I was like, well, I'm just saying, like, that's not the best idea. At least be smart about it.
My son heard me telling a story about college, how I didn't try when I went to Texas Tech and I failed out. So I'm like, son, you got to try your hardest in school. And he's like, but Dad, you didn't. I'm like, oh.
And we're doing good. Look at
you say you dropped out of school to be a rapper or something? And like you took your time, and I was like, oh God, I've said too much.
Yeah, don't from 2 to 5 just sleep.
Yeah.
Don't tune it.
Yeah. But I want to go back to something. You brought up that it's funny that you went back and listened to that album, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
You're now the third person that's heard it.
We have a group. The three of us, we meet.
Yeah.
It's like a book club
almost.
Support
group, really. I listened to it. I need help. But if I had wanted to make that something that I wanted to like pursue, I would have just made funny songs like Al Yankovic or something. You know, I would have tried to go down that route. But I'm really proud of it. Like there's some parts I hear that I cringe. I'm like, I didn't do a very good job on that. But it's really, it's my life's work. It represents such a long period that was so important to me. And I'm really proud of the way it all came together.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that you listened to it, man. I really do appreciate that.
I wanted to listen to it. I was curious always. And then for this podcast, I wanted to listen to it too, because I think that tells a big story of your life, right? If you spent a ton of time trying to become a rapper, and then later on you go and produce your own album, that is a big part of what you were doing growing up, right? That's a big part of who you are. I know that for me, so I do comedy, and I had done comedy from 2007 to 2013. And then I just kind of abruptly quit. It wasn't a decision that I quit, but it just kind of happened. And one of my big reasonings for getting back into it when I did was because, like, I remember telling my wife, I was like, I'm not going to make it as a comic, probably. That's not a goal. In 2007, that was the goal. Now it's not. I have kids, I have a career, everything like that. But I don't want my kids thinking, like, give up on stuff that you've worked hard on, right? So it's a better example of, like, at least, well, Dad does this stuff that he likes. You can still have success, but it's not the same success that you thought it was going to be.
Oh, dude. No,
you know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean, probably more than most. And, chasing being a stand-up comic or chasing being a rapper or chasing having a radio show or whatever, all those things are dreams that are similar because they're very hard to obtain. And for me, when we chased music and it was music or nothing, boy, that's a bad recipe. But because it's so hard to do. But by the time we started making music again later, it wasn't because that's the only thing that mattered. Just like you for your comedy. You've got a way to support your family and to make it through life. But, I always compare it to baseball because I'm a simpleton and I use sports analogies. But like a basic job and just paying the bills is going, hitting a single. But you still got to swing for the fence every once in a while. And so that's what we did. And the irony is, we had our regular job, so we were hitting singles. Prior to that, we were, hitting pop-ups and we were batting 0-0-0. But we started, supporting our families with other jobs, and it ended up being, okay, chased a dream in rap, failed, crashed and burned, didn't make it. But that's what made me bulletproof in terms of chasing the next dream, because I had already failed, and I realized, I didn't die. Yeah. I'm alive, and the crazy irony is, so one of the ways we got our foot in the door in radio, was at the Ticket. We started making intro songs for some of the guys there and some of the shows there. And so suddenly we're using rap to make music to get into radio, and that's really how we open the door to get in. And then ultimately, if you think on your feet, I'm not doing cocaine, I just have allergies outside.
You're okay, man.
I mean, I did some coke before I got here.
But not in like 2 hours.
Yeah, but the whole point is, oh God, I forgot what I was going to say. Edit this out. No. What was I talking about?
You were saying ultimately what got you guys into the door.
Okay, so sorry. So I told how sometimes you share stuff with your parents and it's too soon? Mm-hmm. You probably shouldn't have told them. Like you maybe told that story about hitting baseballs into traffic.
Yeah.
Your dad's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
No, you don't have insurance anymore.
Yeah. So I believe that what's helped me in radio more than my college degree in marketing is freestyle rap. Mm-hmm. Because that ability to think quickly on your feet and rhyme, if you're thinking quickly like freestyle but you don't have to rhyme, that's real easy to do. And so in my job, I have to talk, I have to be quick on my feet verbally. That training of learning to freestyle and making music to get in the door of radio, those two things are what have made it possible for us to have a radio show right now, at least from my standpoint. And so even though my dream crashed and burned, it's really what made my other dream come true.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and because that's kind of how I feel too with my job. I'm in sales. I have a degree in acting. And so when I first got out of college, I was trying to make it as an actor. And in sales, you get told no all the time. And most people that fail in sales is because they can't handle being told no. And I'm like, dude, that was my life. All I did was get told no.
Yes.
I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean? Like, I'll
yes.
go on an audition and like book a commercial, and then maybe it's 6 months before someone calls me again to do something. And during that 6 months, I got told 27 times.
Yes.
I'm not worried about someone telling me no. The first big sales job I ever got was when I was interviewing, and the manager told me later, she's like, hey, you want to know why I hired you? And I was like, why? I said, she goes, in your interview, I was asking you like different things, like to train you, and you had never done it before. And you said, I'm a classically trained actor. Tell me what to do, and I'll be any person you need me to be. And she was like, all right, I'll hire you. Let's do it,
awesome.
Right? So you go get into radio. So the intro songs is what got y'all in the door. And then didn't you guys start doing, is it post-game or pre-game for the Mavs? Yeah. Is that what it was?
Post-game. So we are, this is around 2000, 2001. We're talking about it. We're like, dude, why couldn't we fell in love with the Ticket? Ticket came on the air around, I think, 94, 95. And it was sports talk, but it was pop culture and fun and humor. And they were musicians and interesting people. And we're like, this is so much better than just sports dorking. It's like there's legit pop culture value. It was entertaining. And so we fell in love with the Ticket, and then we're like, why couldn't we work at the Ticket? Like, maybe we can get a job there someday. I mean, they were legends to us. I wasn't saying we thought we were better than them. I thought that's a dream worth chasing. If you can make a living just being an idiot with your buddies, let's go figure that out. And so we dreamed of being at the Ticket. And so we started started getting on here and there doing shows, and we started at Fox Sports 1190, and we did a weekly show called Basketball Jones, and we just talked about hoops once a week. Well, we started taking those, I think it was CDs at the time, of our radio show to Bruce Gilbert, who was the program director at the Ticket. We got it in there, and we're like, because we were making intro songs and stuff, and we're like, would you give us feedback on what we need to work on? And he did. Out of the kindness of his heart, he said, you need to do this, 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 and this. So we were being trained by a guy that we didn't even work for. We weren't his employees, but he took the time to train us. and he was maybe the number one guy in the country at his job. And so we had this amazing training, and we just kept working at it. And then around 2001, we did get the Mavs postgame show at the Ticket. Then suddenly we got like a weekend show at the Ticket. Then we got to do some vacation fill-in stuff at the Ticket. And we were on our way, to maybe being the next show at the Ticket. We were like the sixth man. And all the shows there were ranked number one and had long-term deals. And so we weren't going to really have a chance to go there. And the program director said, you guys are ready to go out on your own. I'll even help you leave because we just don't have anything here for you, and you're ready. And so we ended up going to Live 105.3 around 2007, 2008. And Russ Martin was on in the afternoons, and it was just like Howard Stern-style guy talk radio. And we went there. I quit my sales job. I took a $100,000 pay cut.
Oh, God.
With 2 kids in diapers. And we rolled the dice and bet on ourselves that we could make it. And we did.
Wife work while you were doing that?
No.
Okay, so you just said, this is it. I've got to make this decision. I got to try it now.
So I had been selling television advertising, and I had made it. I was doing really well in that industry. I was one of the better reps doing it, and I was working at CBS, and then I later went and worked at Univision, and but my heart was always in something else. Like I could do it, and I could support my family doing it, but my heart was I wanted to do something creative, and we just didn't see an opportunity at the Ticket. And a show called Pugs and Kelly had walked out at Live 105.3, and we also wrote a column in Quick, and we had just won Best Columnist in Dallas in D Magazine, which we couldn't believe. We were super proud of that. And so I took that magazine to the program director at Live 105.3 and said, we do a show on the Ticket. We're ready. We just won the Best Columnist in town. I know a show just walked out on you. Would you give us a chance? And they did. And so we started there. And then 3-4 months after we started, Russ Martin got in some sort of trouble, and they decided, whoa, God, we got to pull Russ Martin. And they said, guys, we're going to change the whole format of the station to be sports. You guys are in an afternoon drive. Now you're going toe-to-toe with the hard line in afternoon drive after just having 3 months experience. And it was a nightmare because we never intended to compete with the Ticket.
Yeah, you're supposed to do something different.
Those were our idols, you know. We were honored to be there 6-7 years, however long we were, and now suddenly we're going toe-to-toe in afternoon drive. We were getting death threats because, I remember Skin got a death threat that they wanted his kids to die. Oh. Russ Martin listeners hated us because they thought it was our fault that Russ left, which it was not. Ticket listeners were like, wait, what? Now you're competing against the Ticket? Fuck you guys. You know, it was a tough time. And meanwhile, $100,000 pay cut, and we didn't really have a long-term deal. And so, but it was, hey, put your nuts on the table, go for it. And I always felt like in sales, if this didn't work, I could still go back and get a sales job selling something. And so we went for it. And it's been a shaky-ass ride for a long time, but finally it's starting to pay off. Yeah,
I remember, I don't remember you guys from Live or the 105 when it turned into the Fan. I don't know when I got onto the Fan. I don't know. I moved back home in 2009, back to Dallas. I went to OU, and I moved back to 2009. I think the Fan was already around when that was going on. Were y'all on the air at the Fan then, or had y'all already moved to ESPN?
So we were on 2007, 2008. We were there maybe a year, 8-9 months. We were at ESPN from 2009, 10, 11, or something like that, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. That's weird, ESPN.
Yeah, I remember you guys moving over to the Fan the second time and taking over for Rage, and I was real mad when you guys took over because I had listened to you guys on ESPN, and that was like Ben and Skin light. And you could tell, and I just remember when you guys got hired, I was like, those dudes are annoying. I don't want them on.
Yeah.
I don't want them on this radio for 5 hours. Because I remember it being, but I think the reason why is because you guys were kind of just doing straight sports. As ESPN, were you straight sports?
So that's the thing. And that's the thing we've learned over time. Like, a host may have a wide range of things they're capable of doing. Like an actor may have a wide range of roles they could play. Some hosts don't. Some hosts can be a sports nerd. Some hosts can be Howard Stern. Some can do it all or whatever is in between. And so it really comes down to the playbook, whatever the corporation wants you to do or the program director. And so the ESPN playbook, it's not what we wanted. But at the same time, we hated the person they brought in to run the fan. His name was Tom Bigby, and he was a legendary cocksucker. Everyone hated him in the industry. He was a total asshole. And we wanted, if he was on fire, I wouldn't piss on him to put it out. And he was the biggest scumbag I've ever met in my life. And he made our lives miserable. And so we just wanted to leave no matter what. And so we begged out of our contract, and they let us leave. We went to ESPN to work for Mark Frito Friedman, who we went to Berkner High School, and he helped us get on at the ticket. And we ran an escape to ESPN. We knew it wasn't what we wanted to do, but it was still a way to stay in radio and support our families and just do sports. But we got to work with Randy Galloway, who we loved. And then the Rangers went to back-to-back World Series, and the Mavs won a championship, and we got to go to every single game, home and away, every play. It ended up being an incredible adventure. And then, again, another radio industry thing is, ESPN wanted to get out of the radio business, and so they ended up selling all but 5 owned and operated stations. They leased ESPN back to the ticket, basically ended up running it. And they weren't negotiating with us in good faith because we didn't, like they said, hey, we want you to replace Randy Galloway someday. We're like, okay, well, when he retires, that'll be great. And they're like, we'll give you a 3-month deal.
Oh.
3 months? Like, what?
Is he retiring in 2?
And so the reason they wouldn't do that is because they knew they were going to sell. So they knew they were going to sell, and so they couldn't have any long-standing contracts with hosts that, the new buyer wouldn't want. And so we said, we're out. And that's why we went back to the fan. And we knew that it would be a chance to do more of the show we wanted to do. And when we got there, initially for the first several years, we did ease into and were able to kind of do what we wanted to do. Ultimately, that old East Coast consultant style thing reared its head again. And, it's all about calibrating the ratio, right? Mm-hmm. ESPN is 100% sports. Eagle, we don't have to do. We could do 100% non-sports if we wanted to. We like doing sports, so we'll do it as much as we want. The ticket, maybe, I've never felt like they had a mandatory percentage, but let's say that it was 50-50, and maybe now it's 60-40, 60% sports, 40 non. The fan, for a while there, it was kind of like, it felt like we had more freedom to do non-sports, and that's what was really getting traction. That's what listeners liked, and that's what helped the station grow and come together. But then when that started getting squeezed out, we're like, oh, we've seen this before. Yeah. And we kind of knew where it was headed.
Yeah, because I think what got me on board with you guys was y'all had been on the fan for maybe like 3 or 4 months, and y'all did the Nigel and Whippy prank.
Yes.
And you did the Nigel and Whippy. And for guys, if you don't listen to Ben and Skin, which you should, Nigel and Whip, what Ben and Skin do is they make up fake radio shows where the audience is in on the joke, but the person that they are interviewing is not. So they think it is an actual show, and they play these different characters where they are this terrible show that should never be on radio, and why the person you're interviewing can't figure that out is beyond me.
Well, they're just excited to do an interview. You're these bloggers, they're like, oh my God, somebody wants to interview us. I'm going to be on the radio in Dallas.
Yeah, hey, check it out, Mom, Dad, I've made it. I'm going to be on the Nigel.
Everybody listen, I'll send out a link. I'm going to be on the show. And we don't tell them the name of the show. We just, KT books it as the producer, and he's like, we're going to have you on the fan. Or whatever it is. And I'm going to be on the fan. And so by the time they get on, the producer talks to them right before the interview and says, okay, it's Nigel and Whippy is who you're going to be on with. And let's go. You ready to go? And they're like, great. And so we've had a bunch of incarnations, a bunch of fake shows. Nigel and Whippy. Nigel is like 90 years old. It's always his last show. And he does it with Whippy, who's like 22 and the biggest douchebag ever. And they hate each other. And they don't relate. And they don't want to do a show together. And so we had that fake show. We had the Fighting McMahons, Ronnie, what is it, Ronnie? I can't remember the other guy's name.
East Texas Sports Boys is a good one.
Oh, the Fighting McMahons all fight with each other the whole time. They hate each other. They fight. They always ask guy, when's the last time you got in a fight? They basically want to call him a puss. The East Texas Sports Boys were one of the guys you can't understand. Oh, we did the Bane and Skin show with Bane instead of Ben, and Skin was himself, and people still fell for that. So, yeah, we just had a lot of incarnations, a lot of those shows, but that's the fun, like making songs and that creativity. That's where we get the joy in making this stuff, and that's where we connect with people. Nobody's ever come up to me and said, man, that Dak opinion, woo, you hooked me. I'm in for life.
You broke down the salary cap so good,
nobody's
man.
ever done that. And so But they do say, hey, you told that story about your dad dying, or you told that story about Thanksgiving failure, or you did that fake bit, or whatever it may be. That's what sets the hook. And it's the weirdest thing for me that consultants don't get it. East Coast radio consultants all want to make everything in Dallas-Fort Worth East Coast, blowhard radio. And they want to bring that cookie cutter formula, but it just doesn't work here. People don't want that here. And so it's always baffled me. And you could look at it too. You could say, okay, the ticket has been number 1 for 25 years because they have fun. ESPN has been number 30 for 25 years because they don't have fun. And so if you want to figure out where you should set your barometer and how much sports and non-sports you should do, it's pretty easy to see this formula for success. The problem is not every host can do all of that.
Yeah.
Tommy Miller. All right, that's our head brewer. But it's like acting, right? It's like some hosts are really good at talking sports but aren't as good as on the pop culture.
Yeah. It just is. I mean, that's a shame when they do that, like that they change that whole thing, because that was what made your show its show. I mean, my wife would listen to you guys on the drive home 4 out of 5 days, and she likes sports, but she's not someone that wants to pull out her calculator and look at box scores all day. You know what I mean? So it definitely is a big difference, especially now that you guys are on the Eagle, and it's definitely y'all's best show, because you're actually getting to be a human being instead of saying, I'm going to talk about that fumble in the fourth quarter for 4 out of 5 segments today. And then on the 5th segment, we're going to talk about that touchdown in the second quarter. And that's it. And every show on the freaking radio is going to do that day.
Right. And again, I want to be clear too. This has all been about what fits best for us.
Yeah.
And what our listeners seem to like the most about our show. I can't speak for anybody else. I can tell you that, and again, this has happened at multiple radio stations where we've been, so it's not new. But with regard to the fan, we still have a lot of friends over there who are great, and they're putting on great shows. They're getting good numbers, so it's all good. For us, doing a sports-only show is not interesting at this point. Doesn't mean that they're not doing a great job at it, or we don't have good friends over there doing it. I'm just saying for us, we're getting old, man. We need to do what we like.
Yeah.
And we need to do what we believe in at this point in our careers, or otherwise we'll just go do something else.
Yeah. So I kind of end the show on this with this question. So I asked you about your greatest athletic achievement from back in the day. What's the most athletic thing you've done in the last 6 to 12 months?
Ooh. So, does Fortnite count? So
I know you're a big pickup basketball guy.
So I love pickup basketball, which has been the hardest thing about the pandemic in terms of like routines getting messed up. So I have this thing called Hoop Club that I've run for many years. And we had a church in Dallas that gave us the court for free. And I had a select group of guys. We built up like 25 guys, and we always had the exact right number. And we have a system for figuring out who gets to play which time. And I was the godfather. So anytime I wanted to play, I got to play. And there was times where I was driving to Dallas 2-3 times a week at 6 a.m. to go play. And then I have other games I was playing. I'm a huge Dude Perfect fan. I love Dude Perfect. I play basketball with those guys.
Can I tell you a Dude Perfect story?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't dislike Dude Perfect at all, but I have a story about Dude Perfect, and I don't know which one it was, but I'm playing in a co-ed softball league like 7 years ago, okay, and they're starting to have a following at this point, but I don't know who I know who they are, but if I saw them on the street, I didn't know there. So we're playing against one of them, and my buddy, we're on defense, we're in the field, and one of the Dude Perfect guys hits this line drive in the gap. Nobody makes plays on line drives in the gap in co-ed softball, except for my friend. So he runs to the side and makes this diving catch, and we're like, oh, yeah, right? And so then he comes up, the Dude Perfect guy comes up again later on in the game, hits another screamer, right? And our shortstop makes this diving pack against him, right? And we're going nuts. So at the end of the game, when we're all playing, going through high-fiving, he's just mean-mugging all of us, and he's punching our fist, and that was my experience.
Are you serious?
Yeah, with Dude Perfect. But what's funny about it is my friend that caught that ball, later on down the year, he ends up going to church with that guy, and they're like friends now.
Okay. Tell me what the guy looked like. Do you remember what he looked like?
It's the one with the beard, the kind of the shorter one.
Tyler Tony?
Maybe, yeah.
He's like, yeah. Okay, so knowing Tyler, are you sure it wasn't a bit? Because that guy does a lot of bits.
I don't
and
know
he
if
is
it was or
freaking
not.
hilarious. Those guys are the most humble superstars I've ever met, ever. Like you just don't meet people like that. Like they've got over 50 million followers now, maybe even 60 at this point, and they're as humble as they were day one.
Yeah.
They're just sweethearts, dude. They're amazing dudes. And so, yeah, I play basketball with those guys, and then I have another game I play in with some of the Prosper School District folks. And
Are you, since you're got the background in sports talk, do you play with a lot of like former athletes or current athletes?
so I dig that. We have over the years, and we obviously can't play during COVID, but
Yeah.
prior to COVID, was my whole reason, the whole way of exercise. Like I can't get on a treadmill because my body's like, wait, what are you doing? But if I trick my body and like, oh, we're competing? Oh, did we exercise? Damn it, he tricked us.
Got us again.
My body just wants to eat donuts.
I understand that.
But yes, we have gotten to play with some cool athletes over the years. The best we ever played with was Delonte West.
Mm-hmm.
We played with him while he was a current Maverick, and it was insane. He'd like pull up from half court and just shoot threes in perfect form and just swish, swish, swish.
Isn't that insane though when you play with like legit athletes? My sophomore year of college, in between sophomore and junior year, we would play at Prestonwood every day in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a degree in theater. All of my friends,
You weren't flopping. Were you selling fouls?
most of my to be or not to, a good portion of my friends were college athletes.
Okay.
And not just like, oh, he went to some D3 school. Like, one of them wrestled at OU. One played D1 football. One was the quarterback at some D2 school in Oklahoma. Like,
Yeah.
legit athletes. Another one played D1 basketball. And then, so we would go, all of us would go play basketball. And then there's me, theater guy. And we would play, another person that we'd meet up there is Derek Harper's son went to our high school.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and his son was legit,
Okay.
legit basketball player. I think he went to Boise State. Like,
Okay.
really good high school basketball player. I don't know what happened to him in college. And so then there would just be me, and they'd just be like, they would tell, I was like the hustle guy and pick up basketball because I can't do anything
Yes.
else. Maybe I get a shot every now and then. And then one day we're up there, and this is 06, so this is before Romo is Tony Romo, right? I know who he is because I know who he is, but nobody knows who he is. And he shows up, Patrick Creighton shows up, and Terrence Newman, and that's who we're playing. And I was like, I guess I got Patrick Creighton. Like, I guess I'm guarding.
I know him well. I play basketball with all those guys, and so I know Patrick Creighton well. He can ball.
Yeah.
He was a part of Hoop Club.
Okay. Well, and Romo is like Steve Nash out there doing
Yeah.
things that I've never seen before. And then there's just me like, yo, I got rehearsal after this. Like, don't go, don't
dude.
go.
So we've played with him quite a bit, and I have some good stories about playing ball with Romo, but that's kind of how we got in with him, was through pickup basketball, and we got to be friends with him. And it was through Prestonwood, because his pastor at his wedding is David Shivers, who's assistant pastor at Prestonwood.
Okay.
So that's how he ended up hooping up there all the time.
Yeah.
But those guys, those pro athletes, like we played with Derek Holland, Ian Kinsler, Tommy Hunter. We've played with Cuban, which is fun. We played with a ton of Cowboys, Witten, you name it, Dez, a lot of different Cowboys. But those guys have one speed. They don't have, like, as you probably seen, they don't get on the court and, all right, I'm just barely playing. They're like,
Yeah.
They're pro athletes for a reason. Not that they think it's Game 7 of the finals, but they're great athletes. And like one time we were playing at the JCC. We rented a court there, and we had a private game, and Romo came and played with us. And he dove for a loose ball. And there was it was one giant long court with three, they could divide it into three smaller courts by holding these big giant blue banners down. And the banners had a steel rod at the bottom of them, and that was the divider for the courts. And it was three short courts instead of one long court. So he dove for a loose ball into that steel rod.
Oh, God.
Got up, grabbing his back, and I'm like, what are
Is that
you
where
doing?
the back pain started?
I
That's
don't
where the
know.
back trouble
I don't know.
started?
But I'm like, what are you doing? You can't do that. And it did get to the point where, we later on got to be friends with a lot of guys in the front office. And I got to where I wasn't going to invite players to play with us because if they got hurt, I would be devastated.
Yeah.
I would feel terrible if they got hurt playing with us. So there's a lot of, not that they were all dying to play with us, but it was fun for us to invite them. But I just stopped doing it because I was afraid somebody would get hurt.
Yeah, for sure. We had one time at 24 Hour Fitness, Pac-Man Jones was in there playing in a pickup game with us, and I was like, this dude is an unreal athlete. Because you play with people that you think are good athletes. Like, oh, my God, my high school friend was the best high school point guard ever, right?
Yeah.
And then didn't play college or anything. Or maybe did play college. And then these dudes that didn't even play college basketball, but they're NFL athletes, it's unreal
Dude,
what
I'll
they
tell
can
you,
do.
Ian Kinsler, he was guarding a buddy of mine who's like one of the better players that we played with. And this guy was real quick. And Ian, when you see him out there and playing basketball, all of a sudden it looks like a weightlifter. Like
Yeah.
you watch him on TV, he just looked like a guy, but he looked like a weightlifter compared to the other guys in the court. And he was sagging off of this guy by a long way. And I was like, Ian, this guy can play. He's pretty quick. You may want to get up on him. And he looked at me like, man, I'm good. And the minute that guy got the ball, it was like he was Spider-Man. Like he was all on him. I was like, I've never seen a human move that quickly. And to your point, it's just a baseball player. It was
Yeah.
a pro baseball player.
Yeah.
And the quickness was just off the charts.
My one of my childhood friends that I played basketball with, all growing up, he went to SFA on a basketball scholarship, and he was a starter there. And they played OU. I was at OU at that time, and Blake Griffin was at OU that year too. And his parents came up to the game. It's a short drive from Dallas. And I went to his dad. I was like, hey, you might want to take some pictures of them playing against each other, because that dude's going to be like an NBA all-star, right? So
really?
take some pictures, right? So they're playing the same position. They're both power forwards, but my buddy is like a stretch four. He's more of a Dirk, style.
Okay, yeah.
So there's this play in the game. I'll never forget this. This is the most athletic thing I've ever seen. He's wide open from like a wing three, like wide open. I mean, space for days. And Blake's at the block. He's on the block. And he comes out of nowhere and just swats his stuff into the stands.
Oh, my
and I
God.
was like, we're here for you, man, but that was pretty tight.
Yes.
Because they're both 6'8". One of them is a
Good
finesse
God.
player. The other one, it can jump out of the roof. But yeah, it's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, it's a whole nother ball game. It's so crazy to see.
And then there's me playing with them.
Trying to take a charge.
Yeah, like you're doing like fundamentals. Like, that's what we learned in 6th grade. Defensive slide,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
You know? But hey, Ben, this has been a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you? Plug all your stuff.
Okay, so I'm at Ben Rogers on Twitter, and I think I'm at Big Ben Rogers on Instagram. We have a Ben and Skin Facebook fan group you can search on Facebook. And then if you want to hear any of our podcasts, our producer KT posts all of our best podcasts every day. It's benandskinpodcast.com. And you can subscribe on the iHeart app. We also have a Cussin' the Cowboys podcast.
That's a lot of fun.
We talk Cowboys, but we drop F-bombs. It's a lot of fun to do that. But you can hear us 2 to 5 weekdays on 97.1 The Eagle.
Awesome, man. Hey, just FYI, I'm trying to get KT to change his name legally to Kevin. Or no, not from Kevin to Kin.
Kevin to KT?
No, from
To
Kevin
Kin?
to Kin. Yeah, so that when
Ooh.
you guys are out of town, it can be the Kin and Skin show.
Ooh,
or the Ben and Kin show, and it just stays the
Ooh,
same,
I love
right? So I think
that.
that's what he should do. Take
We'll
one
do
for
that.
the team.
We'll make him do that.
Right. Hey, well, guys, thanks for tuning in. You can always find me on Instagram at Mike P, because I hope that you go hee when you hear my jokes. I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/Michael Pasvar. Make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast so you know when the new episodes drop, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, guys.
The day